Big map strategies are kind of few and far between these days. There's kind of a monopoly on it, and there was never really anything to hold Total War to account until Knights of Honor decided to make a return. Now, if you guys don't know, Knights of Honor is actually a series that goes back a long time. But on the 6th of December 2022, we have Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. This video is sponsored by them, but I thought I'd give you a quick rundown and give you a quick indication about what the game is all about. Become a king and fight over Europe in this fresh take on medieval real-time grand strategy. Manage provinces, gather armies, initiate diplomacy, and dabble in espionage. The path is open. Become the true sovereign of your people and bring them to glory. I actually followed this game back when it was first announced, and I thought it looked like something quite special. The massive map that you get to start in is something else. It's bigger than we've seen with a lot of things and really does feel like a perfect mix between that Crusader Kings 3 style and the Total War RTS battles. Being able to manage really in-depth provinces, diplomacy and making alliances and enemies, trading, hiring people to your retinue, and of course, the Lord's Court. There's so much to delve into, so I guess we better start. First of all, you're introduced to a map where you can choose some victory conditions. Of course, if you want to become a true Knight of Honor, you gotta kill everybody, and you gotta take full control, but you can have minor victory conditions if you so desire to. I chose not to because I am a psychopath that wants to destroy everybody, so I decided I'd head straight in. Picking England because of course I did. Oh, by the way, before we head in, you can pretty much customize your games to the nth degree, from gold to the age of your king, to whether you manage a whole kingdom or just a couple of provinces. It's so customizable, this thing, and we are thrust right into a beautiful map. The design on this thing is pretty impressive. Don't get me wrong, graphically it isn't the strongest thing in the world, but I don't think it needs to be. This is almost a fresh lick of paint on the brilliant Knights of Sovereign that came before. That game built up such a fan base, so a soft reboot and reintroduction into the franchise is not such a bad thing. You can see a lot of detail of every city, from London to Newcastle, from Exeter, all the farms and castles surrounding it, and of course merchants and villagers that wanted to move between. Clicking a city is where you start your building. You can choose to go down the regular RTS routes that you'd know and love, from military to population, religion to farming, even the seashore where you can build docks and vessels in order to take to the sea, something that you probably should be looking into if you're like me and playing as the Great English. Of course, you can start recruiting some peasants. They're pretty much the lightest militia you can get, but once you've got a barracks, they're all yours to enjoy. I fought with them and against them on the battlefield, and I can't lie, I much preferred fighting against them. They will go down so easily to any projectile fire, and a quick cavalry charge will dispatch them with relative ease. But don't get me wrong, as you advance there are so many different types of troops, from spearmen, shieldmen, archers to cavalry, full-on knights in clad armor that can cause a lot of havoc if they so wish. This game is all about those battles and that perfect mix with the RTS strategy on top of it. Trying to really actually get your teeth around all the in-depth and intricate details and micromanagement. Don't get me wrong, it's a little bit intimidating at first, and I would have liked there to be a bit more of an interesting and intuitive tutorial, but you'll slowly get there. It took me a few hours, but I eventually got to hang with all the controls and most of what I needed to know. But next, we needed to hire people to our king's court. You need to make sure that you've got people to rule your kingdoms. You can choose between marshals, merchants, diplomats, clerics, and spies. I, of course, went straight for a marshal because, well, war is definitely on my occasion. Scotland are at my gates, and I'm not too happy about it. Each of your agents can also be upgraded, given different skills and traits. First things first, Scotland create a defensive pact against me. I must now move to the borders at some point, yet that time has not come. We are still very weak and our army is very small. I take my marshal and I go and crush a nearby rebellion. This is going to be a tricky one. This rebellion is pretty big and, well, if I'm going to be completely honest, I hadn't yet worked out how to properly move troops into my army. So I send my marshal on his own, which could have been a disaster. But no, we get some help. Help arrives with other troops and they come to our aid. This is where the battle forces start to line up. You can choose whether you want to auto battle, much like in a Total War game, or lead the army yourself. Depending on the size of the army and whether it's a siege or not depends on how long it takes for your men and your armies to muster in order to get ready. but of course, we're going to lead from the front lines. We may be outnumbered, but these guys are just rebels. We are the true king of England, and this is where we will stand. A really cool aspect is that you have your main army, of course, people that you've recruited and moved into said army, but you also have surrounding armies. People that have come to aid, or maybe even just villagers or people in the surrounding area that want to defend their land. They can muster arms and come and help you if they see their king or lord is in need, and I think that is a really cool addition. This is also where you'll see your garrison soldiers if a city is besieged. Heading onto the battle, it's something that you'll be very familiar with. Things like wooded areas will give you cover from archers, and of course fighting downhill is definitely an advantage. You have your morale and your stamina to keep people in the battlefield. Something I noticed is that early game you're going to be losing men very easily, and they will run away from battle, especially the peasant militia. They don't exactly know what they're doing. I see the enemy army form up, and yes, it is a little bit terrifying. Fortunately, a lot of them are just peasants, so I think I stand a chance here. We are really outnumbered though, so I speed up time and wait for them to come to us. You can click your troops, right click and drag in order to put them in formations, or see different formations that they can form on their own. Of course, making sure we get a cavalry behind to get those hammer and anvil strikes, because we're definitely going to need them. Your archers will show their range if clicked on, but also a minimum range. If troops get in that, they're going to stop firing completely. However, fortunately, they don't have any archers, so we've got to use them to our advantage. The battle commences. Our men fight, and they really try and stand harsh. The archers kill our own guys, because what else would archers do? And our men start to flee. Okay, it's been a bit of disaster. But luckily in Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign, you can just restart your battles if you really want to. I'd like that probably not to be a thing in the harder difficulties, but hey, was I thankful of it this time. Because we go back into the battle, the enemy send their general forward, and I kill him. And that's the end of the battle. You have different ways of winning said battle. You can wipe out their troops, you can attack their camp, or you can kill their leader. And that's what I decide to do. It feels a little bit cheesy, but I'm not complaining at this early stage. So there we have it. A victory. The rebellion has been crushed. Heading back, I send my marshal to London in order to get his honour and praise. I also work out that I can move militia into his army. You just sort of drag from the city into his army, and there they go. One thing I notice at this stage is just how sheer this scale is. There's so many regions and kingdoms that you've got to pay attention to, and Jesus Christ, this game has a lot of content. But we build a market square in order to become a better trading hub, and of course, it gives me more gold. We also assign governors to as many cities as we can. Things like adding a merchant will make that city produce more gold, or adding a marshal will give it more defenses. Diplomatic offers start to come in, trade agreements and non-aggression pacts. We even set up our own trade agreement from Newcastle in order to get as much money out of our allies as we possibly can. However, Scotland are starting to get on my nerves. And no, it's not because they eat disgusting food, but it's because they're right on my borders and I want to expand into that land. So, I start to move my army up north. As they're moving up north, I produce militia in Newcastle, something that will really help bolster the numbers after that long few days march. When they get there, we merge the armies and our final form has grown. We declare war and we head into the borders, but, oh, well, it seems they also have quite a big army. Oh, God. The battle commences, and Jesus Christ, they have so many guys, and this time I am the one with just militia. Scotland have archers, swordsmen, heavy cavalry, spearmen. I've got a feeling this isn't going to go well. We form our front lines, try and get our cavalry to go around the side. We even aim our cavalry at their general. In fact, if you click on their general, you can select them as a priority target, so if you have any archers, which we don't, they will prioritize that important unit. I assume you can do this with pretty much any unit on the battlefield if you really need to be taking them out. We stand our lines, but our men crumble very fast. Their swordsmen hack through my militia, and it is a bloody defeat. Our men flee the battle, and we decide to retreat our general so we can fight another day. Because we will have our time. But that's not right now. God damn it. Scotland, you've done it again. Thank you, Knights of Honor 2, for sponsoring this video.